Welcome to another episode of the Refined Peasants podcast. I'm Wyatt.
I'm Garrett.
I'm Nick.
Alright, let's get after it. Alright, and today we're going to go over Biden's first 100 days. We have finally reached the mark. But before we go over any of that, we have bought some special glasses. And what are we drinking today, fellas? What are we drinking today?
Bird Dog.
Bird Dog. It's, age 7 years? It's their fancy bottle, whatever it is. No flavor, no nothing, just straight whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
And it is mighty fine.
And Wyatt here brought us these fancy glasses.
Yeah, I found these glasses at an antique shop. Certified and everything. They were made in 1793. So they're almost as old as the country.
And they've got like gold, so they've got a gold leaf, family crest?
Right.
Sigil on them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really badass.
Yeah, I like so if you're watching this on YouTube right now, if you look at the image you're looking at right now, that's going to be the picture of the bird dog with the 3 glasses in front of it. So that's the image you're going to be looking at right now. That's what they look like. It's great whiskey, and it's great glasses that I got literally a week ago by the time you're listening to this.
And I mean, these are going to be specific podcast drinking glasses.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave them in here. Set them up by my other glasses and...
Hell yeah. But, really good.
Have to brag on ourselves. If we could just get Nick to roll fucking cigars for us every time now.
Right. Yeah, we'd be set. But, alright, so, first 100 days.
Oh, that's good.
So, I'm going to start this off like this. So, would you approve or disapprove so far? It's one or the other, because this is how they ask in the approval poll. So, Nick, we'll start with you, and then we'll work down.
Well, if I chose the wrong person, I really haven't been Kevin much on what he's done.
Well, sometimes that's the best presidents.
40 executive orders.
God damn.
How do you feel he's, just as general being the president, would you say approve or disapprove? Well, it sounds like he hasn't done anything enough to piss you off.
Gas sucks. But
Gas does suck.
$70 for me to fill up my damn truck.
Yeah.
That's true.
There's the border crisis that I don't like and all that.
It's hard to pick something you don't like about a corpse.
Yeah.
But
approve or disapprove, I don't have enough information. I don't know what he's done in 100 days to say that at the moment.
So if you had we'll just do a Gallup poll or a 538. So if you had to, out of 100, how many percent approve, how much percent disapprove?
Oh, if I had to do that, depending on if it's 50-50, Republican, Democrat?
No, your personal rating. So you, say 75% approve of him and 25% disapprove. Just your overall...
I go 49%. I think he did a good job.
So 49, 51?
Yeah.
49 approve?
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, I don't know much what he has done other than, end sports. Ends women's sports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would, for sure, probably, I'm around 55% approve, 45 disapprove. That's about as much as I can give him because he hasn't done as much as I need him to get him up there to where everyone's thinking he is.
So right, I think the 538 is 60%.
Yeah, so Pew's got him at 59, and then Gallup's got him at 60, and then I think 538 may have him at 54.
No,
but 538's not a poll. They take all of the polls and
then average the polls together.
Yeah, it's not. They weight them too, so it's not quite an average, but it's. They themselves are not pollsters.
Right.
But most of the the higher ranking places, they're going to have him around 59, 60. Which in his first 100 days, that's competitive with Obama. He's not higher than Obama, Bush. He's not higher than he's higher than Clinton. He's not higher than the other Bush or Reagan.
Yeah, he's for sure higher than Trump. Trump maxed at 44.
Yeah.
I think. But Nick pointed out something really funny. It was 93% Democrats approved of Joe Biden and
6% Republicans.
Yeah. So it's for sure got a party aesthetic to it.
I feel like it does. But even at 60%, we're not 60% Democrat.
Yeah.
At least some Republicans have to like him.
So overall, I'm pretty unhappy about a lot of the stuff he's done. I'm probably gonna put it at 35.
Oof.
35 approve.
Oof, that's a lot. That's really low.
Yeah. I'm not super thrilled. I'm not super thrilled about the mass virtue signaling. I'm not super enthused about him threatening to close down the 4th of July. I'm not super enthused about how he's handled the border. I'm not super enthused about how he handled China and Russia.
I figured you would like how he handled China and Russia. Because, I mean, he stood up to them.
Did he, though?
Yeah. He stood up for sure Russia more than
China.
And for sure holding Russia way more accountable.
Just in the situation with the Ukraine? Or prior to?
Well, even, like, just Russia in general. He's a very, like, stricter policy on Russia.
Yeah, he doesn't make as much money off of.
Oh! That's funny. Tax jokes.
No, I am. I'm going to do 35.65.
So I'd say it shocked me whenever it came out that it's that high. At 59.
So I think it's a giant, like, it's a collective breath after Trump. So even Republicans, I don't know if anyone's seen the interview with Alex Jones. I know we mentioned it in a previous podcast, but he's like, he's basically drunk on an interview, and he's like, God, I'm so sick of Trump. Like, you know, as much as I like Trump's policies, it is kind of a breath of fresh air to not have to worry and hear about what the fucking president tweeted this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my God. Yeah. I don't have to, like, just...
Thank God Joe Biden's too old for Twitter.
Now, and so I don't think that's necessarily all Trump's fault either. I think the media had a real hand to play in how that was.
Mm-hmm.
Because the media was the one reporting on just, you know, Trump's got words for, you know, whoever it was that morning. And then you've got to hear, like, okay, well, this is what we think that means, and this is what that think that means. And it's just... It went from a 24-hour news cycle to a fucking 4-hour news. As much as that president tweeted,
mm-hmm.
we were having to hear a whole big explosive, you know, whether they were making mountains out of molehills or whether it really was a mountain.
Yeah.
It got exhausting for a lot of Americans.
Yeah.
I think we were just like even me as a I follow politics almost religiously. Like it drives my wife nuts. Because I'm always listening to podcasts, I'm always listening to news, and it drives her up a wall. And, like, I know for at least me, it has been kind of nice to have, like, weeks of, oh, Biden hasn't done anything that's being blown up by the media. And again, I don't think that was entirely Trump's fault,
mm-hmm.
but Trump is a TV personality. Like, he didn't help the situation any more than the media exacerbated it.
I think he very much enjoyed it that way. Like, he enjoyed the war with the media. I think he
did. Man does have an ego.
Yeah. He enjoyed being the center of attention all the time.
Which is also exhausting.
Right.
And so, Trump recently announced that he's going to run in 2024, didn't he?
Oh, God. Did he do that?
I think that there's a strong rumor going around that he's going to run in 2024.
So he did an interview with Sean Hannity, and Sean Hannity was like, well, are you going to run? Are you going to run? Are you going to run? And Trump was like, well, look, a lot can change. But he said, I wouldn't throw it out the door. And personally, I think you're stealing a presidency from DeSantis.
No shit.
But, because that man beats everybody.
DeSantis is the future of the Republican Party, I think. So he's an immigrant.
Mm-hmm.
He's running Florida with, like, the perfect, like, just fucking pristine. And it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I love every bit of DeSantis. Like, I'm not homosexual, but if DeSantis offered me $20, I might take it.
Right.
So, again, Trump tweeted out, I'm looking at it very, very seriously, beyond seriously about running for 2024.
Well, he couldn't have tweeted it.
Yeah, he couldn't have tweeted it.
Well, it's a quote he said.
We just assumed at this point, right? It was a tweet.
Yeah. So he's beyond serious about considering 2024.
Yeah.
Running.
I don't think it's out of the question, and I hope he doesn't run because
he's
honestly,
got the ego.
Oh, the GOP is thinking he's going to run again.
Well, so I think the GOP may 4 years is a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So especially depending on how 2022 turns out. So if we run the table in 2022. I don't think Republicans risk fucking that with a Donald Trump candidate. Now, so there is, roughly a quarter of the Republican Party that's the QAnon people?
Yeah.
Which is fucking terrifying. I'm still not sure I believe that, but
I've met
enough of them That it worries me.
Especially in this state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, well, we're a deep red state. Democrat here has got about as much hope as a raindrop in hell.
Yeah.
But,
But
I really do. I just, to finish up on Trump, I hope he doesn't run in 2024. Trump, you had great policies, but you just don't have the personality to hold America together. I think DeSantis agrees with your policies. He fights the media and calls them out for their bullshit. And he's got it all in a package that is easy to swallow.
yeah.
No homo.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think I'd have to agree with Wyatt. Like, you're stealing a nomination away from DeSantis.
I wouldn't even say a nomination. I'd say, like, he's stealing... Because if DeSantis runs, I think he'll beat whoever the Democrats got. But, at the same time, I know Republicans will fall in love with Trump again.
Yeah.
And that's what scares
Especially after 4 more years of Biden.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know...
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is basically the 3rd term of Obama, which is 2 terms of Obama is what made America fall in love with Trump.
Yep.
So...
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes.
It's funny how we started this podcast. This is Biden's first 100 days, and the first thing we talk about is Donald Trump.
I don't remember how we got
That's
on.
how the ego
you
of that
said he
man
might run.
goes.
Yeah. No,
So-
I mean, any press is good press, I guess.
Yeah. So do y'all know what Congress routinely polls at, like approval rating?
Oh, I'd like 20%.
That's max, right? Like they routinely poll at like 17, 16 all the time.
Right, like, so if you guys think, like, if you're a Democrat listening to this, I mean, good on you for getting different opinions, but if you think Republicans are happy with the level that our senators and congressional members are operating at, you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're just as probably unhappy as most of you.
So, like, this is the only one that's really not partisan. So, like, individual senators and individual congressmen, they poll about how you would expect. But Congress, well, when I ask you, like, well, Congress as a whole, what do you think? They're like, oh, disapprove. It's not even close.
Yeah, you're a bunch of pieces of shit.
It's like, yeah, well, I mean, I agree. Generally, I disapprove of Congress.
Yeah.
Just most of the time.
I mean, well, it sucks to watch, like, it's either a governing body that is trying to run railroads over 50% of the country, or it's a governing body that's trying to just halt everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like fucking brick. You know?
Yeah.
And that's the way Congress operates now, which is what sucks. Now, if you were to ask me, like, what do I think of, like, the approval ratings for the judicial branch? Like, I'm a firm, like, 80.
I have no idea, but I'd imagine it'd have to be high.
Like, so really, like, just my personal opinion, I'm a firm 80, and that's nonpartisan.
Yeah.
Like, no matter who is on the Supreme Court,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a firm 80. My 20% is strictly because of abortion and gun rights that they've let through. Like, I'm a real close to a 2-issue voter. Like, if you're pro-abortion and you're anti-gun, you ain't getting me. Like, that's just not happening.
Right.
Now, it's not like I won't consider other things, but those are real detriments to your policy in my mind.
So in 2020, the approval rating was 58% of the judicial branch.
That is incredibly low.
To me,
now, that's got to be partisan, though.
But it's the highest since 2019. 2019 was lower.
They named Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
I'm
trying
to find
Amy Coney Barrett is 2020.
I'm trying to find 2020 ones, but it's only giving me 2020.
It was at the tail end. It was at the tail end of 2020 when Amy Coney Barrett was. God, I think we've talked about this, but if you guys think that, I don't want to get into that. We're just going to talk Biden's 100 days. Damn it.
Okay.
Biden's 100 days.
Okay. Well, so thinking 35%, Garrett.
Yeah, 35%.
Okay. All right.
So, and I'm going to give you strictly what I approve of. So, if you listen to our George Floyd podcast, I do approve of him mobilizing the National Guard in preparation for what could have very likely been BLM protests and riots. I'm giving him a big chunk there. And I'm kind of giving him a big chunk for being a corpse. Like, you know, the less a president does that actively affects me, the better.
Right.
Now, that's not to say, like, so he's running his mouth about gun legislation and running his mouth about all this other stuff. But luckily, he's the executive. and he doesn't control what passes into law, and I've got apex predator cocaine Mitch McConnell to protect my rights.
Yeah, he just does a
But-
line and filibusters all day.
Yeah, and you know what? If it stops gun legislation from getting through, I'm happy.
Yep.
Well, so 35% approval. He hasn't done anything just remarkably fucked up that I really think is a detriment to the country. I think now. So my big gripes with him, my big gripes are the immigration crisis. I think it's been handled incredibly poorly, and I think his only solution to it was one to put fucking Kamala Harris on it, which I don't know what she's done about it at all.
Yeah, it's weird how that story just disappeared.
Yeah, just fucking vanished.
I knew it would.
Not a goddamn thing. That's what happened.
Yeah, not a goddamn thing. There ain't no pictures of AOC crying at a parking lot for Biden's immigration crisis. Yeah. But we did throw a fucking shit ton of money at it.
Yeah.
Like what's the number? I know it's like billions of dollars that we're throwing at this right now. I know the federal government right now, according to a federal employee at I think Crowder quoted him, but they got an email, and it's basically like, would you be willing to take paid leave so we could use your office to house illegal immigrants?
Hell yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, of course, fuck yeah, but to the taxpayer that's like, so I'm welcoming an illegal immigrant, I'm paying the dude to take time off so we could use his office. Like, what the fuck is going on here? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't understand.
It's gonna be a big ass office.
So the immigration crisis, I have a big gripe with. So he didn't respond. So tell me what he did on Russia, because I think
he handled it perfectly. Is what he did.
Okay.
He put sanctions on Russia. He
shot
shot down a drone in Syria. That's a big deal, right? Because that was the whole Hillary Clinton thing, right? You draw a line in the sand, and then they cross the line, and you do nothing, right? Well, that's not what he did.
So he drew the line in the sand. I mean, okay, so props.
So what's happening? Russia.
Sanctions are a big deal.
Russia is pulling troops away from the border from Ukraine.
Yep. Really? So they're pulling back now.
They're pulling troops away from Ukraine.
The sanctions are a big deal, and we're mobilizing. Like, we moved
NATO.
No, it wasn't. I don't want to say a fleet, but we moved subs.
We moved
with Great Britain.
We moved into the Black Sea.
Yeah.
I think a battleship.
Good on them.
I know we moved ships with Britain into the Black Sea. Most of NATO is backing Ukraine.
Yeah.
And it's basically Russia and China's trying to tag on with Russia because China has a very similar claim to what Russia's making to Taiwan. That's what they're.
So if they can back Russia to taking Ukraine, then Russia would in theory back them in taking Taiwan.
And it's the whole thing. But
personally, I think China's just trying to create more chaos. I don't think they're going to be as invested in that scenario.
Oh no, I imagine China drops. I mean, so especially when most of the UN is against you. So the problem is China's one of the big five. Which, why we let China into the big five?
You kind of had to.
So, the fuck we did.
Boy, they got the money.
No, really it was because of Britain. It was because of fucking Britain. Because Britain was like, well, we kind of want to let them do their own thing. Anyway, doesn't matter. So if he's taking a stronger stance on foreign policy, then great.
Yeah.
Like, especially, so one of my principal gripes with most presidents is they'll draw, and one thing I liked about Trump was they'll draw a line in the sand, and then the enemy will march over that line and nothing happens.
Yeah.
With Trump, when you walked over that line, we were killing generals.
Yeah.
Like, you talk about however I know you didn't particularly like killing Soleimani the way that it happened, but I was like, yes, if America draws a line in the fucking sand and says, you shall go no further, and you go further and nothing happens, then it's all just an empty threat and America has nothing.
So, my biggest issues was he pushed back the time we're going to take troops out of Afghanistan.
Yeah, from Trump's original...
Well, he started the pullout, right? So we never actually...
So Trump gave him you have to leave by this date, and Biden pushed it back to September something.
It's September 11th of this year.
Yeah. Bad day.
He chose that date because it's the anniversary.
Yeah.
So I would have liked to see them out.
Names and dates, man.
I would have liked to see them pulled out earlier. We have no business being in Afghanistan right now.
Right.
It's the longest going one of the longest going wars we've been in. We're not really fighting anyone at this point.
Yeah. The fact that this lasted, 5 4 times as long as World War II, to me is just laughable.
Yeah.
You know? Like, there's no point in any war lasting 20-something years. Long.
Yeah, either we've won it or we've lost it.
Mm-hmm.
And really, we've kind of lost the war on terror because you can't destroy a whole quasi-continent.
You can't destroy an ideology.
Yeah.
Oh, the fuck we can't. We did to Japan. But we're not willing to do that.
I think we just made him surrender. I don't know that we killed it.
I'm pretty sure we did. Glass floor.
Maybe.
But anyway.
But he rejoined Paris, the Climate
Accords.
That was a good thing for some people, I guess.
So the federal bank.
Yeah. So banks aren't going to loan out to companies who don't meet certain environmental regulations.
Right. So they actually, once Biden joined back, they actually backed him.
Yeah,
Which it's not the federal bank. It's the
they're the World Bank.
It's the World Bank.
A little off time. Did Biden sign any treaty to end the war in Afghanistan?
No, you don't have to sign a treaty.
So
it's not a war.
We're not fighting like Afghan the country. We're fighting like insurgencies and militias.
The war in Afghanistan has
like
lasted
it's a withdrawal.
Since
it's not
2001. It's been so
maybe 20 years.
20 years. 2 decades of fighting.
2 decades of occupation. Really, after the first 4 years, the fighting had been greatly reduced.
Most of our troops over there now, they're just training.
Yeah, they're training Afghan soldiers.
But not our fucking place, not our business.
I firmly agree with that.
I don't know. We caused the Middle Eastern problem. We should fix it.
Yeah, but every time we keep trying to fix it, it causes a new Middle Eastern problem. Like, for the history of fucking American interventionism, we're
really scared to pull out because we pretty well know what's going to happen is that Iran's going to want power.
You know what's funny? So Saudi Arabia and Israel becoming best friends because of Iran. Because they hate Iran more than they hate each other.
My enemy.
So they're starting to become best friends.
The thing is Saudi Arabia benefits greatly from the status quo. Mm-hmm. And Israel benefits greatly from not being wiped off the fucking face of the earth.
You see, you want to know the greatest ally in the Middle East right now is fucking Jordan. Keep them allies.
As far as fighting ISIS, yeah.
Jordan has killed more terrorists total than every allied power.
Because if I'm not mistaken, Jordan is right next to Syria, right? And they partially invade some parts of Syria to keep them out of their border.
So Jordan's kind of like Israel. They fight pretty much every day. They're fighting terrorists, except they're much better at killing them.
And they know not to fuck with Israel.
Yeah.
They know not.
Jordan just sits there and goes, Jordan just wants to be left alone, and they keep going through Jordan to get to Israel, and they go, just leave us alone. Mm-hmm. It's like, that's your biggest ally right now in the Middle East.
Well, Saudi Arabia hates Iran because Iran is Shia, and they're Sunni, which is a big deal to them. Yeah. It's not like Protestant Catholic where we're kind of okay now. No, that's not what it is. No, it's a big deal.
It's like Protestant Catholic right after Martin Luther nails that on the fucking door.
It's Protestant and Catholics right during the Spanish Inquisition. Yeah. That's what it's like. It's like,
I'm trying to think. The Paris Climate Accords is a good thing. He's trying to rejoin the Iran deal, but he's trying to renegotiate. He shouldn't do it. He should just enter back in.
Nope.
You think they're going to let Ukraine into NATO?
No, they would have already if they were going to.
So you can't piss off one of the big five like that. That's the problem. Same reason we won't admit Taiwan. Let's say the U.S. backs Taiwan's play.
Would that be NATO or NATO?
Then anything the U.S. tries to present to the UN's Big Five, China's like, no, fuck you.
Yep.
And that's the problem. It's the same thing with Ukraine and Russia. Ukraine used to be in the 1990s. Why the
fuck are we letting other countries tell us who we can be allies with?
Yes, Nick. Wow, I entirely agree with you. Why are we doing this?
Why the fuck do we care about what other countries
fucking think about it?
Because geopolitics. So if you can think of the world politics as a relationship, we need China. China needs us. Anyone who tells you we don't need China has no idea what they're talking about.
That's fucking facts. Because America, as consumers,
no. Let's be honest. China. Disney needs China.
Disney for sure needs.
Corporations especially need China.
Yeah. How else do
the American people need China?
Yes, because they supply us with jobs, like consumer-based jobs. So,
China has nothing but sweatshops. What the fuck are you talking about?
Right, that's what I'm saying. So
These
they produce us.
These
so the
shoes
American,
you're wearing were made by a child.
So the American economy is very much just like selling stuff that China makes to each other. And if you take away China, well, no one wants to manufacture anymore. And
not America, because our minimum wage is too high.
Right. And so we need China probably a little bit less than China needs us. China needs us probably a little bit more. Right?
Because they have no one to sell it.
We buy all this stuff.
I feel like depending on the market. So like Hollywood needs China more than China needs us.
Yeah.
That's not true. I really don't think so. Because there used to be a time where we didn't cater, like Hollywood did not cater to Chinese politics.
Yeah, but China, since their dollar is almost worth, I think they're worth exactly the same as ours.
But the euro is worth more.
Yeah,
but there's not a billion people in the EU.
Exactly. So if you can get that billion people, or some of them in China to watch your movie, you're a box office hit no matter what.
My personal opinion, I don't need that billion people. If I'm selling to the other 6, why do I need the billion?
Because, so like the NBA, for example, and I can't speak on Hollywood, but I know for a fact the NBA makes more money from China than they do from America. That's
which is why they didn't back Hong Kong.
That's shoe deals, TV deals, that's everything. Endorsements, everything. They make more in China.
I don't like
it turns out it's not just Kim Jong-un that likes basketball players over there. It's everybody.
I don't...
Ironically, the only kind of black person the Chinese like. Basketball
Dennis
players.
Rodman.
Yeah. If you think I'm kidding, Asians are fucking racist. You think America's bad?
If you think
as a black American, you go try living in China. Have fun.
Yeah.
Don't do it if you're Muslim, though. I don't want you put in an internment camp.
So we're all good with how Biden is handling Russia, right? So like shooting down the drone, backing Ukraine, and imposing sanctions.
Look, I may not agree with where he drew his line, but if you're going to draw a line as the President of the United States,
at least he backed
fucking
it up.
Back it.
At least he backed it up.
Because that has been a big gripe of mine for most of the presidents of my life, is, you're drawing a line, and then nothing happens when they cross it, and it's like, okay, well, you're just chicken shit.
Well... Especially because, the last administration, that was the big knock on him, right? Like, he's too easy on Russia, right? Mm-hmm. I had to hear about it all the time. I
don't think Russia is the enemy that China is.
I don't think so either.
At least, so Russia did, in the 1990s especially, did some horrible things to homosexual people.
Still do.
Still do.
But
you tell someone that gay people exist in Russia, you go to a gulag.
See, that's pretty fucking bad.
Yeah, that's
so
bad.
I would imagine that that's just as bad as what China's doing to the Muslims right now. Look, and I'm not Muslim. I don't worship their prophet. There's an argument to be made that it's the same God. But at the same time,
I don't want to see him in
camps. I don't want to see him in camps. Yeah. I have a problem with people being put in camps.
Being branded, being experimented on.
Yeah.
These literally
the fucking Mengele going.
They're the same. They're literally doing the same what the Jews had to go through in the 1940s.
Absolutely.
In Germany.
Like if you're going to compare anything in the modern world to the Holocaust, what China is doing to these Uyghurs is the Uyghurs. Just to be clear on YouTube. Uyghur Muslims. These are. It's the fucking Holocaust, is what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah. Like
and,
it's unacceptable.
And the world is just letting it. People wonder, like, how did Hitler get so far? Because the rest of the world just doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, anyone who tells you we didn't
they were afraid. They were afraid to do something about it.
Yeah. We kind of are now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's not just us. The EU won't do anything either because you know what the EU is? A fucking consumerist culture.
So the funniest thing I did is that, Disney, when they're filming the new Mulan movie, they did it within so many miles of a concentration camp.
Yeah.
And Disney was catering to the people there. And they rightfully so, got a lot of backlash for it.
Yeah. No, yeah.
It's like, geez, I know we're off on a tangent. We're supposed to be talking about Biden's 100 days, but...
a lot of this is going to be off on tangents.
Yeah.
But so overall, like I said, if he's going to take a strong foreign policy stance, especially against Russia and China, like I said, if I had to pick one, I would prefer you take a stronger stance against China.
Yeah.
Because I think the human rights violations in China right now, like that interview that they did with the fucking the fucking Chinese ambassador. The Chinese ambassador comes and is like, well, the U.S. has race problems of its own, so maybe you shouldn't. Don't you bring that shit here, China.
Right.
Don't you I will God forbid I get elected one day. Because no.
Yeah,
don't you come calling me racist when you've got concentration camps going.
Right.
No, sir. You want World War III.
So, the biggest thing about the whole Russia thing, and then we can move on to something else. For me, so like the biggest thing, I was like, so when Russia put bounties on, I think it was like 8,000 U.S. troops total, nothing was done, and that pissed me off a lot because so you're talking about like we should interfere with China more, right? Well, Russia's literally putting Americans' heads on a bounty, right? Like that to me is like we have to respond, and nothing happened until that's the reason for the sanctions. And, we pulled our embassy, and Putin... Really, that was mutual. Putin kind of kicked him out, and we pulled him.
You'll see that Trump got invited to Russia? I can't remember for what for, but
shit.
And they told Biden that, and Biden goes, he goes, you serious?
Don't go. If you're Donald Trump, don't go.
Don't go.
On the off chance that you are one of our few viewers, don't go.
Please don't. Like, if you want any hope, any inclination towards 2024, stay the fuck home. You've got golf courses and hotels and buildings. Just stop, please, for the love of God. Anyway, so we've covered foreign policy. Like I'm not for the Iran deal. I think Biden should just pull out. You either renegotiate or you get the fuck out. Like, and I wasn't a fan of the Iran deal when it happened, and I'm not a fan of it now.
I'm okay with it because, anything that keeps them from getting a nuke.
Yeah, nothing's going to keep them from getting a nuke. But that's just a difference of opinion.
Right.
I just,
whatever it is. We've already paid them, so we may as well, get our money's worth. At least make sure we can go there. And, they kept up to their end of the deal even after we pulled out for a long time.
Sure they did.
Well, the UN got to do inspections and stuff, and they said we were all good. And believe me, if anyone wants to find that shit, and anyone wants to go through thoroughly, it's the Israelis. And they for sure...
That's honestly the best argument I've heard, is like, if anyone was going to find it, it was going to be the Israelis.
Well, you know how hard it is to hide a nuclear power plant? Like, come on now, let's get real, right? like we can find in like an 8-pixel satellite these camps that these Uyghur Muslims are in, but we can't find a several square mile camp that would be needed to do like nuclear power plants.
But they're allowed to have nuclear power. They're just not allowed to advance nuclear technology to the point of getting a bomb.
They literally cannot. So it'd be like if I gave you a truck engine and I said, all right, you're not allowed to go past 1,000 horsepower. It's like I literally cannot with the current engine I have, so that's not even a problem.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. We're not going to discuss... We've covered it in previous podcasts. I don't think Iran's holding up their end of the bargain, no matter what they fucking say, and whatever the UN finds.
Fair, but you do understand, like, that's not necessarily based on evidence.
Yeah.
That's based on, like feelings and
no, that's based on me not trusting my enemy.
I know, but even then, that's feelings.
Okay, I guess so.
And that's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with, like, an emotional argument. I'm just saying, like, it's not necessarily based... Like, we haven't found something incriminating. Which, is fine. But...
Anyway.
Okay.
I want to touch on gun rights.
He hasn't touched them.
No, he's advocated for the assault weapons ban.
He's advocated for nothing above a 410 shotgun.
Yeah, nothing above a 410 shotgun shell.
Which, if anyone is
just
his
policy advocacies are not the same as what he's trying, as what Congress has in committee right now. But so he is for taking your AR-15s. If you doubt that, then there's an interview on the campaign trail where he's like, "Yeah, I'm definitely coming for your AR-15s." Anything over, I think, a 5-round clip, he's coming for. And anything higher, so 410 shotgun shell and up, he's also coming for. Which, if you're a gun owner, it's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fucking firearms.
Just look up the calibers from 410 to 12 gauge. 410 ain't nothing.
Yeah, 410 literally is nothing.
It's very small caliber. You can't really hunt anything with it realistically.
Yeah, so
rabbits.
Hunting ducks would be a problem with a 410.
Yeah, because you ain't got the range.
Exactly, right.
So your 410s are usually you give to your kids to get them used to a shotgun kick.
Yeah.
It's sort of, if you can think of everyone's heard of a 22, I'm sure it's like the shotgun equivalent of that.
Right, 22 is everyone's first rifle, and a 410 is everyone's first shotgun.
Right. It's what you give to your kid for his first shotgun in.
So
I'm convinced he only did that so that way he has wiggle room. You know, he said nothing
I
about
don't
a
care
410.
why he did it.
So then he can be like, we'll like 12 gauges, and then...
Yeah. But, okay. So, I don't think anyone here likes that. I think that's unreasonable to ask.
Yeah.
For one, the gun issue in America, there is no confiscating any of these guns. We have more guns than we have people.
Yeah, and more rounds of ammunition than we have people.
We have more rounds of ammunition than there are people on the entire planet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's no way. So it's sort of like whenever, people are like, well, let's just deport all these immigrants. Like, well, you can pretend to deport 11 million, 12 million now, 12 million people, but it's not going to happen. It just literally, logistically, it's impossible to confiscate 400 million firearms. There is no way, shape, or form.
No.
You'd have to grandfather clause all these firearms.
Yeah, so
but the point is, you're not going to come for my grandkids' guns either.
Right. So, yeah, so, the only real solution is to end circulation. Right? And even then, that's a long
The problem is your firearms market
gives
a lot of money.
I'm not saying I advocate that solution.
Right.
I'm just saying, that's, from their perspective, that's the only one that they can really go after.
So, okay. So most people who buy guns is for two reasons: protection and hunting. Hunting is not a necessity anymore. It's a hobby. If you think it's a sport, target shooting is a sport, but hunting is a hobby.
Hunting is a hobby.
And
yeah, I'd say so.
I'm sorry
for the majority.
It's something.
Americans do not have to hunt for sustenance anymore.
No. So, I mean, it's not like you take away guns. You're taking away. I say that Alaska may be different because you literally have to hunt to survive in Alaska. So if you take away guns. And you take away guns in Alaska, you're literally, not to say you're going to kill these people, but you...
Well, there's an argument. If you take away guns in America, you're like, I think it's 500,000 to 3 million a year of protective use of firearms. Mm-hmm. People using firearms in self-defense.
It's a vast majority than committing crimes.
Oh, yeah. It blows the amount of crime committed with guns out of the water. Mm-hmm. So... America's problem, I know, with all these, what used to be all the school shootings. Funny how that kind of died down. Maybe it's because schools are closed.
Yeah, COVID. Can't shoot at school if you're online.
That could affect it. But I'm just saying, America does not have a gun problem.
Not as big as people think.
Not at period.
I mean,
not period. Thomas Jefferson, I would rather have the inconvenience of dealing with too much liberty than those of dealing without. Mm-hmm. So, and the downside to having a Second Amendment is sometimes you got jackasses that's going to do stupid shit. But you know what? I'd rather have a couple jackasses doing stupid shit and have the rest of the population being able to defend themselves with firearms.
So, realistically, me personally, I'm not going to own a lot of guns. I'm going to own what I want to use.
I own so many guns.
I'm going to have a shotgun. I'm going to have my rifle. And I may have a few toys I want to shoot out. Me personally, I want an M1 Garand. Am I ever going to hunt with that? No, but I just want it for historical and because it's an M1 Garand.
If you own a 30-06, you own an M1 Garand.
Pretty much, but...
So, just for me, I have two 9mm, two 40s, 12-gauge shotgun, a 30-06, an AR-15, I'm missing, a 22, a 410, a bow, another bow. I have very many projectile weapons.
So my biggest thing is, okay, so a lot of people say, well, they're for government tyranny. No offense to you, Garrett, but your guns ain't gonna do shit against a drone. Unless you send
a full armada at me.
Garrett, I got two examples on why you would lose. It's called the Shays Rebellion and the Civil War, why you would lose.
That's fine.
And that's not even...
Would you want to... Even Germany knew not to go for a third ass whooping.
So far.
Hey, during Ukraine, they backed the U.S. because they knew...
Have you ever seen, the bit about the British... He's a British comedian, and he was like... Britain has defeated every country
I fucking love him.
And he's like, name a country. And they said, Germany. And he said, World War I, World War II, and if only they'd have tried again in 99, we'd have got the hat trick. And it's like... Because I guess there was some. It wasn't like a war, but there was some like weird skirmish over something in the EU.
It's like a Cold War.
It was something stupid. Like it was never going to turn into a war. But the joke was that like you don't want this smoke, Germany. Like that was the joke.
After decimating Europe for twice in a row.
Right.
Europe did not win World War I or World War II. America did.
Right.
And Russia helped.
Well, World War I, I wouldn't give us as much credit. Like France probably deserves the most credit.
No offense,
Oh,
we didn't win either war. We just helped the other side from losing. We helped the Allies from losing.
We won World War II.
We won World War II. The atomic bomb.
Well, no, you want to get into that? You want to know?
Of Berlin.
You want to know why we bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki in those wars? Because it ain't.
To play with our toys?
Pretty much is the only two cities other than mainland Japan that wasn't bombed. So we said, oh, these would be fun to test out. Because Little Boy and the Fat Man were two different styles of bombs, so we had to see which one was more destructive. So we picked two cities that weren't bombed.
Wow.
So we were dropping those sons of bitches without Harry Truman's approval no matter what.
Well, that's a bold statement. Because Harry Truman for sure.
Garrett, the fucking planes were flying when he made the decision.
They were in fact flying. They were already on the way. They weren't listening for radio contact either.
No,
like they were.
Harry Truman said, "Do it," and they said, "Fuck, we're already halfway there."
I don't remember his name. His name is MacArthur. Douglas MacArthur was the Eastern General. Yeah, or Admiral, whatever he was. He already gave the green light. To go. They didn't care about Truman's approval.
No, they wanted to test out the new toy.
You're lucky he said okay.
Mm-hmm.
No,
for sure he did. So as far as foreign policy, we said we approve, right? What about domestic?
I mean, I do want him to be harder on China.
Yeah.
So as far as a hard stance on Russia, like, look, Russia is not our friend except in the case of they're the enemy of some of the people we don't like.
Middle East.
Yeah, sometimes.
But I do want a harder stance on China. I want somebody needs to call fucking China out for who they're doing. Trump didn't do it either. So it's not just Biden. But God, we are witnessing another Holocaust right now, and nobody says anything about it.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah. But, I mean, I don't know. He doesn't have a whole lot of leverage because, I mean, these are two countries that are very dependent on each other. And we can't fight them because if we fight them, we still lose, right? Because we lose manufacturing, people lose jobs, the economy goes with it. Like a war would only hurt America, even if we win.
You know, I'm sure a war with fucking Germany in 1940s hurt America too.
No, didn't it create?
But it was still okay.
No, it probably saved the American.
It was the only reason we got out of the Depression.
I'm just fucking saying, like, there are reasons to say, and if you would come and tell the American people,
I would like to see
we are stopping another Holocaust right now. I think most of the American people would be on board. I'm an isolationist personally, and I still think we shouldn't be allowing what's happening to them to be happening.
I would like to see the UN get involved.
It would still be partisan. I'd be willing to bet.
Probably. Oh yeah, everything's partisan. Your fucking hat color is partisan now.
Yeah, no joke.
You're wearing a red hat.
Oh, you
like
see,
a bunch of gang violence.
You,
Bloods versus Crips.
Oh, you see, Uno's getting rid of the red and blue cards because it makes Republicans and Democrats.
See, now that's stupid.
It's like, why? It doesn't. You're making politics where politics shouldn't be.
Yeah. Like sports.
Shit, LeBron.
Yeah, looking at you, fucking LeBron James.
I'll call you out.
I personally don't have a problem with athletes having a voice. Like, I'm not one for the shut up and dribble campaign.
Right.
I'm not, but at least get all the facts before you tweet your next.
Yeah, at least fucking own it and don't be like, well, it's not my fault I didn't have all the facts. Yeah, it fucking is, you jackass.
Don't run your mouth without knowing the facts.
Yeah, don't run your fucking mouth.
No, I mean, that's completely fair. Like, he shouldn't have... I mean, I'm sure we're both referencing the cops, right?
Yes.
Wow.
Kia Bryant.
Yeah, Michaela Bryant. I was like, LeBron, you can't... For one, as soon as we saw the body cam footage, basically the majority of Americans were like, okay, the cop was right, and I'm glad he shot because he saved a life.
Mm-hmm.
But that is not how LeBron responded before the body cam footage.
You're next.
That's what he said.
And then he ran... And
that's fucked up regardless.
Yeah. The worst part is he ran with the everyone needs to be held accountable until the body cam footage, and he goes, well, it's not my fault. You know, we should still hold... He basically said, everyone should be held accountable except when I mess up.
Yeah. Yeah, and get fucked, LeBron.
I hated that.
You take you and your Chinese Nike money, and you go fuck yourself.
You know what? Good. You know, I'm so happy the NBA and Nike have not backed him. They have stakes on it and say, we're not going to comment on this. We do not support nor...
Well, whenever you hear we're not going to comment on this, that means that it was probably a good shooting.
Yeah.
Because if it was a bad shooting, they for sure would have told you.
They for sure would have fucking commented on it.
So, what do y'all think about Biden's domestic... Like can we all agree that him deploying the national... We're getting ready to deploy the National Guard was a good idea.
Mobilizing the National Guard was a good idea on his part.
That was a good idea.
Yeah. I think so, too.
I guess on the domestic front, why you want to touch on COVID?
Yeah, I mean, so he set his goal before he came into office, before there even was a vaccine, before we had any idea of a rollout. He said, 100 million is the goal, right? Mm-hmm. Well, then he got into office, and everyone said, you're already on pace for 100 million. You know, like, that's not even a realistic goal, because, you know, you're already expected to meet the goal, so, like, nobody should really care. It's not that impressive. And then Dan Crenshaw said, do 200 million. Double it, I'll be impressed. We have just recently, before the time of this podcast, we have reached 200 million officially.
That's 200 million shots.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Not full vaccination. So we can assume 100 million, considering the Johnson & Johnson just got canceled, which is the only single dose vaccine.
It just got put back.
Did it really?
Yeah, yesterday. I can't tell you what time.
Why?
Because the blood clots are 1 in a million.
Didn't this come out? It's like you're only risky if you're above a certain age.
So you got to be woman 18 to 45.
Yeah.
So and it's also like
and it's only happened to 6.
Like 130 people in Oklahoma have contracted COVID after getting fully vaccinated.
So
people are like, oh well, the vaccine's not effective. It's like, no, that's 130 people out of like
that
hundreds of thousands.
Your body could reject the vaccine.
Oh, the vaccine has definitely been proven effective. Like that's why we're seeing the death rates specifically go way down.
The fuck down.
Way down.
So 200 million vaccines. It's good on him.
I think Dan Crenshaw is the man. I'm impressed because that's what he said he would do.
Yeah.
I mean, 200 million is impressive.
Damn it, Dan Crenshaw, you said you were going to do it. Maybe you don't run your mouth if you don't want to do it. Like
the next day, Biden was on a press conference and he was smiling and he was like, so my new goal is now 200 million. It was pretty much in response to Dan Crenshaw.
Well, and you know what? Crenshaw, I like you, except you like rated flag logs. And you're in Texas, I don't like Texans. But if you said you're going to do it, you better fucking do it.
Yeah. Yep.
You got to give him that attaboy.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm not one who's... I don't think so. The vaccine policy is one thing. I don't think he's handled coronavirus particularly well.
Better or worse
I really hate the mass virtue signaling. I really hate it.
You think he's handled COVID better or worse than the previous administration?
Well, considering he has a vaccine...
Better.
But
the way he addressed it earlier, like Trump denied the vaccine.
It would be very hard to find any American, I feel like, to say like, well, Trump handled it so much better.
You'd never talked to a QAnon, have you?
I think so. No, so I will say there are a few aspects of it that Trump did handle better. So Biden is threatening to shut down the 4th of July because of COVID if people don't get vaccines.
Right.
And that's fucked up. Like, if I needed your permission for the 4th of July, that defeats the whole purpose of the 4th of July.
Yeah.
He did the same thing with Easter. I think he's more authoritarian on it.
Think so?
I think he's more authoritarian on COVID in general.
He's allowing states to open back up with basically no consequences.
So did Trump.
Not as much. Like, basically, Florida is completely reopened. Texas, same way. I mean...
Well... Can he really, does he have a choice?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if he was authoritarian like you're making it out, wouldn't he step in?
So shutting down the 4th of July isn't authoritarian to you?
He can't shut it down.
So just because he can't do it, the proclamation that he would...
Right, so if you're...
Makes him not authoritarian?
So if you don't have the power to shut down the 4th of July and you do it anyway, that's authoritarian. But that's not what he's doing.
So he's saying he's going to shut... So what if he starts sending people into homes and breaking up 4th of July parties?
I mean, that's a hypothetical, but I don't think that's what's going to happen.
Okay.
We'll play
devil's advocate.
Let's play devil's advocate. What if he does?
What if that's authoritarian, obviously.
Okay.
I mean, that's not like...
What percentage would you say, realistically, if he percentage that happening? I think it's very low.
Saying, so yeah, I would actually agree with Wyatt. Like, there's no way for him to enforce it. because states are going to tell them to get fucked.
Yeah.
Florida's going to tell them to get fucked. Most of the Midwest is going to tell them to get fucked. Like, we're at the point in this disease, anyone who's still hyping this COVID shit up like it's the end of the fucking world is lying to you. Because we are on the tail end of this.
Right.
Like, we are on the tippity tail.
So, we're almost ready to go back to normal. And I'm so ready for it.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm ready to not wear fucking masks everywhere because I thought masks were always pointless. I can't, like, I'm not getting behind.
I will say, the mask made me less ugly.
Well, I could do the same thing with a pillow. But anyway, I'm just not. One of the big gripes I have, so he was on a Zoom call recently with other UN leaders, and he was wearing a mask while alone in the Oval Office on a Zoom call. He's the only leader in the fucking world to be wearing a mask, and I think that's just fucking stupid. Like, I get you're in a sensitive age group, Biden, but are you going to infect yourself? Maybe calm the fuck down. Unless, of course, Kamala was sitting there right there over your shoulder whispering in your ear.
No,
which then, you know, I get wearing a mask. She might have COVID.
Nah, it's Monica Lewinsky down there again.
Sheesh.
Yeah, she's old now. Fuck, Biden could do
So
better
is
than
he.
Yeah.
When you're Brian's age, you take what you can get.
that.
Clinton did.
So, like, I guess, as far as his policy handling it, I don't have too many gripes. Like, but his words and his attitude towards it are what I gripe about. Like, the wearing a mask all the fucking time despite being vaccinated. The saying, like, letting Fauci say that even though you're vaccinated, you still need to wear a mask. Get fucked. One, Americans aren't going to do it. Mm-hmm. Once we get vaccinated, we're not going to wear masks anymore.
Right.
And, like, you can just shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I mean, no, I get it. But you understand this attitude has produced, like double what he thought it was going to produce. What America thought it was going to produce.
Not true. Everyone looked at 100 million vaccines and said...
not true.
Okay.
Especially before the vaccine. Because, I mean, he was saying this in November. You know? Like, he was saying this, like, hey... He actually said it during a debate, so it had to have been before November. So he said, 100 million. And everyone was like, he's crazy. There's no way. Right? Like, I mean, this is a big goal for him that he accomplished. Nobody believed 200 million for sure.
Honestly, I didn't. Now, I remember something about him having a lot more vaccines than he was planning on using. And I think he was going to send them to foreign countries, but I don't necessarily have a problem with. If every American who wants one gets a vaccine, and then you've got extra and you want to send them to a foreign country, I don't have a problem with that. You just make sure that every American gets one first. If they want it, they can have it. If after a few months you're like, all right, I still got all these sitting here, then maybe we send them to the EU. Yeah. Or we send them to Africa, or we send them to New Zealand, or wherever.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
As far as COVID, like I said, it's really his lip service and his virtue signaling that really has me irritated with him.
Yeah. Economy-wise, I mean... Pretty good. Yeah,
the economy's been increasing. There are people making the argument like, well, COVID's going down. States are opening up, so the economy's naturally going to increase. I mean, honestly, it's the economy. It's fairy dust. There's not a lot to... I mean, more educated people than I could probably make estimates. Now, the one thing I will say is that 3 out of 4 economists say there's a big bubble coming. Like, I'm not sure it's a housing bubble, but they say there is a bubble coming.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to be careful not to blow this, like, balloon up too much, right?
And there's going to be, there is the chance for long-term inflation if we keep spending money the way we have been without recouping it. Yep. So the infrastructure bill, it has in it a plan to pay for it. But if you, Nick, you mentioned there's another $2,000 stimulus on the fucking table.
He's trying. But
see, that's that's stupid because we are at the tail end of this fucking pandemic. And there's no need for it. And 2, you can't just spend money, I'm not a budget hawk, but you can't just keep spending trillions and expect there to be no blowback. There's a world economy, too, not just an American one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So
I don't know if the forced stimulus bill has gone anywhere. I know he's suggested one, $2,000 is what he suggested. I don't know if it's gone anywhere yet.
I'm sure it won't. I mean, it won't pass the Senate anymore.
Probably
I don't know. Manchin probably might vote for it. But, like I said, the economy's hard to judge on in 100 days. Like, your policies are going to take... The economy lags behind, so your policies are going to take a minute to kick in.
Yeah. So, the Dow, since he took over, has went up about 3,000 points. Like, 2,800, something like that.
Right.
Trump's only went up a few thousand, like just like 1.5, something like that. That's going to be hard to sustain, that kind of growth. So
I think that's artificial growth. I think that's artificial growth caused by states opening up from COVID. I'll put that out there.
But I mean, like even then, like this is the highest ever.
Well, it artificially shut down because of COVID.
Right, but even then, like to see the growth we've had, like I mean, something has changed, right? Oh. So, while we're on this, corporate tax rates, huge win. That's a huge win for me.
And what you raised them to 28, right?
Yeah, from 21 to 28. I don't remember what we will have to wait and see what the effective rate's going to be, but it's automatically going to be higher.
Yeah, just by virtue of raising the actual tax rate, it's going to be higher. So, really, my big thing, if you close the loopholes. So, like, let's say the average difference is like 11 points.
Yeah.
Right, so with Trump, it was a 21% tax rate and a 10% effective tax rate, or a 12%, something like that. But if he gets a higher effective tax rate, I'll actually have to give him an attaboy. Like, I'm sick of. I'm one of those Republicans that's just sick of defending corporations because these corporations don't give a fuck about us. They keep kowtowing and kowtowing and kowtowing to the left. So you know what? Fine. You want it your way so bad, I'll give it to you your way, McDonald's.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough.
You want to back the left, then you can make your bed and lay in it too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we want to raise corporate taxes. Like, I want to see that money.
Well, part of the reason I'm fine with taxing corporations is because corporations are literally not people. So it's not like you're hurting an individual's income.
Well, you are though.
No, you are not. Because you're hurting about maybe 1 to 3% of Americans who are like the heavy investors in these companies. Because all you can do with profits, you really have two options. You have dividends or you have reinvest. And that's about it.
Well, so that's not entirely true. Because small businesses can be incorporated too.
Yeah, but that's not quite. So like Walmart is like, so there are different types of corporations. There's like an S corp or like an LLC. They're not paying the same tax rate. But like McDonald's and stuff, like I have no problem with them being taxed increasingly high on their profits.
Walmart, Amazon.
Yeah, no problem.
The problem is, what's that going to do to your bottom line?
Yeah, so these corporations are going to take it on the chin unless you force them to, which involves a level of government control that I'm not exactly comfortable with.
Well, the alternative is the people in the corporations buying the government. I would rather have the government sticking it to the corporations than the government...
That's literally communism.
I would rather have the government or the corporations conceding just their tax rates to the government than the corporations owning the government through lobbying.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to talk about like ending lobbying, I'm 100% behind that. But that's not exactly the conversation that's being had. Yeah. It's corporate tax rates.
Yeah. So,
but like I said, they're going to pass that cost on to somebody.
I mean, they might, but at the end of the day, like you can only charge so much for a Whopper. You know what I'm saying?
That's not true now that we have food deserts. I mean,
they can charge whatever they want. Now, really, who's going to pay? It's the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's going to be the impoverished. That's the people at the bottom rung of this ladder always end up getting the
I'm trying to think. He raised taxes on the capital gains tax. There was a little bit of confusion on his income tax. So, like, if one person made $200,000 and the other made $200,000, well, you file jointly at $400,000, right? Well, I thought it was implied that if you file jointly at $400,000, then you're going to have your taxes raised, right?
No, I thought it was just going to be individuals. The whole thing was individuals making $400,000 or more. Like, individuals being the key word there.
Yeah, so, like, if you file as jointly, like you file as basically one...
Household.
Right.
So then you, instead of saying individuals, you would say households.
You do an individual
I think he did say household. I'm not gonna like. I think that's the word he used. We can go back and look at the tapes, but I'm just saying like that's
check the tape.
That's what it seemed like to me because Jen Psaki clarified that basically immediately. She was like, "Well, let's be very clear. Like if you're making $200,000 and your partner's making $200,000, you file at $400,000, so your tax rate's going to change." And they were honest about it. They didn't lie and say like, "No, it's not," and then it turns out that they were.
I don't.
Which I mean, I don't have a problem with it honestly. Like if you're making $400,000,
I'm not an eat the rich person.
Oh, it's not even really eating the rich. We're just. I mean, it's not even an incredibly big raise.
So what's the percentage raise? Do you know?
I don't know. It's not very much.
I'm not gonna say that. I'm a pro flat tax person. So.
Well,
at least income tax. Again, fuck the corporations. Y'all can take the shaft that you so desperately
corporations,
want.
It's flat.
God, we need another Teddy Roosevelt.
We for sure need another trust buster.
I'm not very optimistic. I mean, so the dude would have to run on it, and then he would have to be the right type of dude because, you know...
He'd have to get the crowdfunding that Bernie Sanders gets.
So he would have to run on... because that's what Teddy did. He literally... Like, that was his thing. He didn't run on the national parks. He didn't run on none of... That's just stuff he did. But he ran on breaking them up.
He ran on fuck Walmart.
Yeah, ran on that. He ran like, all right, well, we're gonna get you to unionize. We're gonna break up Standard Oil. We're gonna take.
He looked at Rockefeller and said, "I'm coming for you, you bitch."
Yeah, no,
and he won, and then he did.
Yeah, and no, I would not have been optimistic back then. I'd have thought they'd have killed.
I'm definitely not optimistic now.
Oh, well, yeah, they've got too much of a stranglehold now.
Yeah.
But the problem is, like, if someone were to run like that, like if that was their platform, right? Well, if they ran as a Democrat, they wouldn't get elected by... So, like, Republicans wouldn't come over, and Democrats wouldn't come over either.
Yeah.
So, like, if he ran as a Democrat, Republicans would be like, well, what's his views on guns and abortion? It's like, well, that's not really his platform. It's like, it doesn't matter. And if he ran as a Democrat, it's like, well, what does he feel about this or this, right?
There is that fine-tuning in the middle, though. The middle decides American politics.
Yeah.
So it's what you elect represented. And see, that's the shit, right? So the middle, these people who sway one way or the other, they're the people who decide who get elected.
Yeah.
But they're not the people who get to decide policy. Because if a Republican gets elected, he caters to the base.
Yeah.
If a Democrat gets elected, they cater to the base.
Well,
no one caters to that middle that sways either way, so you just get the fucking shaft.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and I feel like the big reason for that is, so, like, a
two-party system.
The middle is, well, I mean, that too. But the middle is less likely to vote in midterms.
And the middle is less likely to give a shit, as long as you stay out of their hair.
The base typically votes the same rate. I mean, it's a little bit less in the midterms, but basically the same amount each and every time.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Other issues Biden has worked on. I can go look.
So there's the voting rights issue, but he's really got no power over that. He's paying a lot of lip service to how it's Jim Crow and racist, which is another thing I disapprove of.
Did we talk? I didn't remember if we talked about the last time the Georgia new laws they did. I know we went into a deal on one podcast.
Yeah, we've got to check out our HR 1 or not. Wait, is it our HR 1? No, that's
it's about the infrastructure.
Filibuster.
No, it's the infrastructure bill and the Georgia voting restrictions bill.
So I saw a thing. So what they did, these on a college campus, they went in and they asked them if you would, do you support the Georgia new voting laws? And they said no. And then they showed them New Jersey's voting laws,
which is exactly what the governor did.
Yeah, exactly. He goes, we're better than New Jersey over there, who's got apparently very strict voting laws.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no one cared when New Jersey did this.
Right.
Why do you care when Georgia
So here's the difference. So, like, New Jersey's turnout is insane. Like, New Jersey people vote at, like, an incredibly higher rate than those from Georgia. And the people from New Jersey will tell you, it's like, well, it's because, like, on paper, we got more restrictive laws, but, like, as far as enforcement, I mean, like...
That's still... You have more restrictive laws on the books, though.
Right. So, like, it'd be like if you had a speed limit, right, at 25 that nobody enforced. It's like, do you really have a speed limit at 25? Right?
But that still doesn't change the fact that you do have a speed limit of 25.
Right, but if people can,
It's like we still have a marijuana.
top.
Marijuana is illegal federally, just no one enforces it.
Yeah.
Which almost defeats the purpose. Like, why not just change the law? But
right.
Anyway, I would get behind. Like, I want an amendment to the Constitution to where if, like, for so many years a law isn't enforced, it just falls off.
And it'd be subjective anyway, because like what determines enforced and
the courts would decide.
Yeah, courts would decide whether or not it's been adequately enforced.
Meh.
If the courts could decide that, like they could say, all right, the law has not been enforced, it's legal. We could legalize it.
Well, the
courts, law is no longer valid.
The courts are going to be the last people to tell you like this law is no longer valid because they literally live on precedent, and like you're basically throwing away precedent at that point.
I guess that's a fair point, but.
Well, if the last precedent was 30 years ago.
Honestly, if you can't see the capital gain of marijuana, there's
a huge you're not a Republican in my mind.
There's a huge market for it. It's
a culture thing with Republicans. I feel like it has nothing.
It goes back to Nixon.
I haven't even read. Most people here are Republicans, and I've met a lot of people that smoke marijuana.
Well, the base is pro marijuana. It's the people we elect. So like they're older.
They're still with the Nixon policy.
Yeah, they're way.
Marijuana will be federally legal in my lifetime, and if it's not, that's a huge failure on Congress's part.
Well, and I think personally that's a part where Biden has failed us. Is he could today without Congress, without the judicial branch, he could lower. I forget the name, like what it's tiered as, but it's a certain like level of drug.
Schedule 1.
Yeah, he could take it off there if he wanted to. He could no longer enforce it. And, but he still does.
If you look at the evidence, marijuana is 1, not a gateway drug. They've proven that. 2, 0 people in all of its lifetime that died from it.
Yeah, no one's ever overdosed on marijuana.
Yeah,
a couple people have gotten really fat, but
yes.
Your argument's going to be with the evangelicals on the Republican side. I feel like they're the one people.
You've allowed drinking. You've allowed drinking. If you are okay with people drinking alcohol,
Moses did a burning bush.
Get fucked.
Well, there's this myth going around that marijuana stays in your system longer, and that's technically true. You don't piss it out like you do alcohol, but it doesn't affect you nearly as long as alcohol, nor nearly as negatively.
No, the marijuana, to overdose, I think you have to consume like so many, like 11 pounds of pot.
Yeah, you're more likely to overdose on fish.
Yeah.
Than on marijuana.
It's because I used to be that guy, and never once could I get through 11 pounds of marijuana.
Try to eat 11 pounds of anything.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can't do it.
Yeah.
So like you're more likely to overdose on a fucking banana for potassium overdose than you are marijuana.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the part where I think Biden has failed.
Oh, I thought there was a bill in the committee, like House committee too.
It passed. It won't pass the Senate though. It's stuck.
I bet it does. You don't think those people in West Virginia like getting high?
Mountain Mama.
I fucking bet Joe Manchin flips.
They're culturally very conservative. I really don't think so.
Boy, they be growing.
And it's not really
as they have the meth pipe.
And it's really not.
No marijuana.
Country roads.
And
No, they're more moonshiners.
Yeah.
No offense to people in West Virginia. You're a stereotype.
Yeah. You gave me Mountain Monsters, the TV show, and I laugh at that show today.
No. You should laugh at that show. That show is ridiculous.
It's hilarious.
It is sad since Trapper died, though.
It is.
Because every time I turn it on, it's always
he was in the NFL? He was a tight end in the NFL. Yeah.
No fucking way. That old-ass man?
He was, yeah.
Bullshit.
NFL athletes have come a long way.
Hold on.
Bullshit.
But there's no way. I'm trying to think more domestic stuff Biden has done.
I mean, so really the only domestic quarrels he's had. So I don't support him wrapping the Capitol in armed troops to this day. To this day, we have fences and armed troops around the Capitol.
I mean, I can't say I'm shocked. Do I think it's unnecessary? I mean, maybe, but
I for sure think it's what.
I mean, I don't blame him. I mean, at this point, it's probably just a security issue. That's all it is. Which I mean, I'm not saying it's justified.
I feel like everyone, if Trump had done the same thing,
but optically,
they would have called him fascist.
Bad. Optically, it looks bad.
Because it is bad.
Well, whenever they did the BLM protest, like he did have the guard there, But I understand that that's not what's happening now.
This is This is a standing military force at the U.S. Capitol.
Right.
Like I don't know. No.
So now, as far as like what's in the Senate right now, they're meeting with Republicans as of this week on the infrastructure bill. He's meeting with 9 of them, the 9 who he considered most likely, but they're allowed to bring people, so it's going to be at least 9 Republicans to negotiate on the bill, and that's good.
Yeah, infrastructure bill's good. I mean, as long as his plan to pay for it actually comes to fruition.
Yep.
I don't have a problem with the infrastructure bill.
I don't either, because I think it'll help out.
DC becoming a state passed the House.
Yeah.
It's never gonna pass. Never gonna pass Cocaine Mitch.
So let's talk about that for a second. So like, what do we think the constitutional purpose? So is it constitutional? Do we think
to admit specifically Washington D.C. as a state? No.
I think it is because there's nothing in the Constitution that says you can't do it.
There is. So you can't take land from one state and make a new state out of it. So if originally you had established Maryland and Virginia, and then you took land from them, and the whole premise of you taking that land is we're not going to make a state out of it.
Right.
In the Constitution series, I'm going to go over it, but you cannot take land from a state and make another state.
Right. So the problem is that's what we did. So Washington D.C. is not our first capital. George Washington was inaugurated in New York City. That was our first capital.
Yeah, but they gave the New York City back to New York when they were done with it.
Didn't they move D.C. too?
Yeah, they moved. They moved it to D.C. They seceded land from both Virginia and Maryland.
Yep.
And those people lost representation. They couldn't even vote federally, but they still had to pay federal taxes. And the whole reason for that, Thomas Jefferson says, actually James Madison, it's only a paragraph in the Federalist Papers. It's not very much. But basically it was like, his idea was, so like if you put the capital in, say, Virginia, then the politicians will feel an obligation to be more loyal to Virginia than any other state, just because at the time they're closer, the base is closer in Virginia. So if you make it its own territory, then you owe them nothing, right? Washington, D.C., a lot has changed since then. So like our founding fathers, we don't necessarily have to always go off their opinion. You don't think so? I mean, they built the system for change. Because if we didn't change anything, we still have slavery.
So, no. One, so Washington, D.C. was created to be an unbiased, non-political place.
D.C. was just a host where the Congress, the 3 branches of government.
Well, originally it was literally just the capital.
Yeah, it's all it was 4.
So now it is 3 universities, and it would be, if it was admitted, it would be the 48th largest, by population.
It should have just stayed a capital.
49th state. 49th by population. Do you know what they pay in federal taxes? You know where they rank?
Considering they're all politicians, I'd imagine pretty high.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter to me because you were choosing to live in D.C.
But it is taxation without representation.
You have a mayor.
That's not federal, is it?
Don't live in D.C.
Move
2 miles.
Can't be state
north.
The solution can't be always just move.
It can be when especially
whenever you're going to university. If you're going to Georgetown, you literally have no options.
Yeah, you do. You can live 3 miles down the road.
I disagree.
So even in a city that is this big, you couldn't agree with moving 3 miles to a different apartment?
No.
That's stupid.
I'm saying, this is over, this is almost 1 million people, right?
This is a power grab is what it is.
It's 800,000 people.
It's a power grab. You're trying to make an argument on principle for what is clearly a power grab to get power in the Senate.
Well, the Senate has always been a power grab. In every single scenario, it has always been a power grab. The reason we had slavery for an additional 60 years...
Except the difference is we always added states 2 at a time.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
You know what that did? It prevented power grabs.
It kept slavery.
It prevented power grabs.
I mean, so like, there's good and bad to that, right? So like, I mean,
the North couldn't just take power and end slavery.
It kept. Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I wouldn't have been opposed to that. To be completely honest with you, I would have no problem if they admitted Maine and all these other states as non-slave states to end slavery. I have no problem with that.
But it wouldn't get past Congress. That's why they did the line.
Mason-Dixon line.
Yeah. Anything above this can be slavery or non-slavery. Anything below is slavery.
Yeah.
To keep everything even.
I think the admission of Washington, D.C. is a blatant power grab.
But
any argument you make toward is just trying to justify a blatant power grab by Democrats.
So even if it is... So, like, even if the situation benefits Democrats, does that mean that those people don't deserve representation?
Not when they can move, again, 3 miles down the fucking road and be represented.
So if we were trying to make Oklahoma say a state again, right? It's clearly red now.
Oklahoma does not encompass the tiny plot of land Washington, D.C.'s on.
So if you were just
you can still go to school.
So if you were to say, like, well, just move. Just move what? You can't move 60 miles? Like, there's so much more opportunity in Texas. Like, you understand this argument could be made anyway.
But I'm not asking you to move 60 miles. I'm asking you to move 3.
You're asking them to move away from their home.
3 miles!
It's not... It's the principle of you... Like, you're like, no, you can't fix the situation you're in now. You should just abandon your life here and move.
I mean, that's what we did to the Indians.
That is what we did to the Indians.
No.
I mean,
Washington, D.C. was never designed to be a state.
It was... So Washington, D.C. is very different from the capital. So constitutionally, we can admit D.C. as a state. Like, the Supreme Court has already ruled this because basically we've allowed them electoral representation. So, like, I think they get 1 vote in the Electoral College.
So they are represented.
No, they don't have a representative. They just get a voice in the electorate, which is very different from representation in the electorate.
They don't have a senator. They don't have 2 senators and a congressman.
Right. But, so, like, just because something benefits... like a particular party doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're going to be against it for the right reasons.
I'm against it because it was never designed to be a state. And again,
I think you're against it because it hates or because it benefits Democrats.
No, I'm against it because it's a blatant power grab. No, not in my lifetime has Washington D.C. been an issue. Been an issue with statehood.
That is so not true. It has been an issue since like the Civil Rights era. Not in every presidential election I've been an adult for, nobody is talking about, well, we need to make sure that D.C. is admitted as a state. Mm-hmm. Well,
it just so happens that they're trying to admit another state into the Senate when it's the only house of Congress they don't fully control, and there's a bill to pack the Supreme Court in the House. So we're just gonna play like it's not a blatant power grab by Democrats.
Well, even if that's the case, like, on principle, I think that those people deserve representation.
They have elected. Can they vote in elections?
Yes.
They're federal elections only.
So they're represented by who they vote for?
Every 4
years.
Well, even then, that's not quite the same thing as, like, having a congressman. So they only get half of the representation you or I do. Is that fair?
You still have representation.
Is that justice?
You still have representation, though.
That's not a matter of justice because nothing criminal's been done to them.
Well, justice just means, like, being fair and, like, giving, like, your process and your rights. It's like, I don't think
they have the same rights as you and me. They have them.
But they don't have voice in... They don't have voice for their taxes. They don't have voice in their laws. They don't have voice in basically anything. But they put in.
I really don't feel like it's unreasonable to ask you to just move. If that bothers you that much, then just move literally in one direction or the other. And go be part of Maryland or go be part of Virginia. Like, I don't think that's unreasonable. No one's making you live in D.C. And it's not like this is like, okay, you have to move away from your family and your friends across the country.
Well,
you have to move 5 miles.
Yeah, personally, I don't think the choices should be, like, if you don't like your situation, then move. Just move.
That's federalism, though. If you don't like your situation in California, then you move to Texas.
Right, but federalism isn't necessarily the philosophy we have. Like, we're not a confederacy anymore. Do you agree?
No, but we still operate under federalism.
Under some, yeah, but not as much as you think.
Not as much as the Articles of Confederation, but
right. We're not a confederacy anymore. Like, we're very much like the federal government.
Okay.
Right.
like I said, my whole opinion on it is we're just gonna play like it's coincidence that the Democrats are making 2 power plays for the Supreme Court and the Senate all at the same time.
even if like Democratic like leadership is wanting this as a power grab, that's still so like just because it benefits Democrats doesn't mean those people don't deserve representation. So like the people living in Kansas in the 18th century, or in the 19th century, they still deserved representation. And it harmed them not having representation. Like, I personally, so let's be real. I want the conversation to be had. Let's talk about, does the Constitution allow it? Did the Founding Fathers, what was their intentions for the capital?
For sure not to be a state.
Well, it's not because if that were the case, then they wouldn't get a vote electorally. But they do now. Right, they have since the Supreme Court.
But you ask if what the Founding Fathers intended, they did not intend for it to be.
Well, the Constitution also says that they can add it as a state. I mean, that's already said and done. Right?
Right.
So,
but it wasn't intended to become a state.
Right, and that's the issue I think we should be working about.
I don't think never intended
this
to become
should
a state.
not be partisan. This should not be partisan. You should not be against D.C. because, well, they're Democrats, and that would give them 2 more senators.
Oh, I'm not. I'm saying it's a blatant power grab by Democrats, and the capital was never intended to be a state.
It was intended to be where the president and the other 2 branches stayed while doing business.
A lot has changed since then, right?
Not that much.
Really? I mean,
has free speech changed a lot?
Yes.
Yeah, but the intent of freedom of your yes, but the intent of freedom of speech still applies. You can say whatever you want just because it's on the internet.
No, they will kick you off Facebook. You understand? Like,
so isn't that a problem with your?
Well, it depends.
DC should not be a state. It was never intended to be a state. It wasn't built to be a state. And it wasn't intended to have the population it does now. It's just
just a victim of circumstance.
No, it is operating exactly how... No.
Well, I wouldn't say it's exactly how they intended, because originally it was just supposed to be the legislators that lived there. And then, pretty soon, like, the legislators, they wanted, like, inns, and they wanted, I guess, I don't know what you would call them.
Whorehouses?
No. What?
Prostitution is legal in Washington, D.C.
Didn't know that. That's super weird.
What the hell? What about here?
Nope.
You film it, it's legal. Put it on the internet.
That's porn.
Yeah. No. But, okay, anything else? What are we thinking for Biden?
He's done some good.
That's pretty much it. Like I said, he's not like doomsday Republican scenario.
He's got a few he got a few good jobs out of me.
But you'd still rank him as low as 35?
Yeah.
Is that just because Trump's was around the same area?
No.
And you just want him
Trump was 44.
Not
I
necessarily.
I only approve him at 35 because he's done a lot more that pisses me off. Like, I just don't agree with I don't agree with all the virtue signaling. I don't agree with his stance on China.
Even though his stance on China is basically identical.
But he pulled all the sanctions on him. All the
Well, the tariffs just got charged. Anyway, whatever. The tariffs just got charged onto us. So they hurt us. They didn't hurt China.
So does corporate taxes. Like, anyway. I just don't agree with a lot of the policies he's advocating for. I don't want to get back in the Iran deal. I wasn't crazy about the Paris Climate Accords. I don't like him wearing a mask all the time. I don't like him saying that he's going to shut down the 4th of July and Easter. I don't like... there's just a lot more that I don't like about what he's doing. And whether or not it's just lip service or he's actually advocating for the policies. I don't like gun control.
I'll tell you what I don't like. I don't like how there wasn't a State of the Union.
Yeah.
That's more like a a ceremonial thing, but I still think that it's important. And I hope he does after his first 100 days.
See, I heard a rumor that is there's supposed to be a State of the Union soon, but I can't verify.
I mean, it should be. The Constitution isn't really like within a certain amount of time, just every so often.
He has to give a State of the Union once a year.
Yeah.
But he does not have to give a speech. So Thomas Jefferson just wrote a letter to Congress saying, this is the State of the Union.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to get on national TV and do it. But
He's not going to do the State of the Union, but he's going to deliver his first address to Congress.
Well, it's the State of the Union. Yeah. If it's an address to Congress, it's the State of the Union. It's just not on the same date.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of more. The migrant crisis, I wish he would have handled that better. That whole situation's kind of filtering away.
April 28th is when he's supposed to do a session of Congress.
4 days?
Damn.
Yeah.
All right then.
This is from CBS News.
All right then.
So,
well, that'll be before these people see this podcast. So
yeah, we'll have to do one on the State of the Union.
Yeah.
Which that means Big Pharma gets pushed another fucking week.
Can't. No, unfortunately, I can't come here next week.
You can push back Big Pharma if you want.
Nah, I gotta work on finals and stuff. Okay, I'm trying to think of more. Is there anything else? 100 days. Infrastructure bill's good.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to argue against the infrastructure bill.
The stimulus was probably good.
I still think it was a little overdone. I don't think it should have been, but you know what? I can swallow it. I'm for sure not going to swallow another $2,000 one though. Like I tell you right now, foot is down. America's open. This disease is on the fucking back burner. Like there's no fucking need for another $1 trillion in stimulus payment.
I mean that's fair. I mean you can only inflate this bubble so much before like it's either so sensitive that anything that touches it is gonna pop it or it's gonna pop itself.
Yeah.
So I mean no quarrel there.
Nick, you got any final say?
Nope.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have me another glass of whiskey in this fancy ass.
All right, fair enough. All right, that's it, right?
Yeah,
good.
Yeah, I think that's it.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in.
Hang on. DeSantis 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah. You should all vote for DeSantis in the primaries in 2022.
And if you don't, you're a fucking communist.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know who not 2022, 2024. All right. Well, that's it. This has been the Refined Peasants.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that little notification bell in the corner, and be sure to let us know if you guys have any ideas for what you want to see from us next. We're a new upcoming podcast. Share it with your friends if you're confident.